I am standing in the middle of a luxury open house in Beverly Hills. The air smells like expensive candles and fresh flowers. My hands are clenched so tightly that my nails are digging into my palms. My sister, Madison, is standing a few feet away, laughing loudly. She is talking to a group of sophisticated guests and pointing at me like I am a funny joke she just cannot wait to share with the world. "You," she says, shaking her head while she looks at my simple clothes. "Amelia, you could never afford a place like this. You can barely even afford the rent for that tiny studio apartment you live in." The room goes quiet for half a second. It is just enough time for the humiliation to land and for everyone to look at me with pity. I do not respond. I just stare at the beautiful marble floors she is admiring so much. She has no idea that those are the exact floors I designed, approved, and paid for through my own real estate company. Madison smirks and turns back to the real estate agent. "Some people just aren't built for this level of life," she says. I swallow hard because she has no idea. She is talking about a house I already own. We leave the open house and head to dinner. Madison is already on her phone, posting photos of the luxury property online. She acts like she already lives there, adding captions about new beginnings and living big. She is absolutely convinced she will get the house because she thinks she is the perfect candidate. Our parents praised her ambition over dinner that night. They keep talking about how proud they are of her big dreams. I just sit there quietly, eating my salad. "You should really learn from Madison," my mother says to me gently. "She knows how to aim higher in life. You seem so stuck in your little world, Amelia." Madison looks at me from across the table and flashes a smug smile. "No offense, Amelia," she says while she sips her water. "But not everyone is meant for this level of life. It takes a certain kind of person to handle Beverly Hills." I just smile back at her and keep chewing. My heart is beating fast, but I feel a strange sense of calm. She has no idea that I am the one who sits at the desk deciding who gets approved for that specific house. That night, I drove away from my parents' house and headed toward my office downtown. The building is made of glass and steel, with a perfect view of the city skyline. This is the headquarters of my company, Harrington Properties. Nobody in my family knows that I fully own this business. They think I am just a low-level worker at a random firm. My assistant, a professional woman named Claire, slides a folder onto my desk. "The Beverly Hills property applications are finally ready for your review," she says. I open the folder, and Madison's name is right there on the top of the pile. I pause for a long time, looking at her photo and her fake income statements. She really went all out to look successful on paper. "She really thinks she is getting it," Claire says with a small laugh. I close the file slowly and feel the weight of the paper in my hands. "She will get it," I replied quietly. I look out at the city lights and feel a chill go down my back. Just not for the reason she thinks she is getting it. This is about to become a very interesting experiment. Madison starts celebrating way too early. Over the next few days, she starts posting furniture ideas on her social media pages. She creates interior mood boards and even starts making housewarming party plans for all her friends. She tells everyone she knows that she is basically guaranteed to get the house because the agent loved her so much. At my office, I sit in my large leather chair and look at her application again. I pick up my pen and sign my name on the bottom of the final approval line. My hand lingers there for a moment over the signature. I know that by signing this, I am changing everything. She thinks she has won a great victory over me. She thinks she is moving up into a world where I don't belong. But the truth is much different. She just stepped into my world, and she has no idea that I am the one who sets the rules here. I am the landlord, and she is just a tenant. I am the one with the power, and she is the one who is about to be very surprised when the truth finally comes out. The day Madison moves into the house, she is screaming with excitement. She has a camera crew with her to do a full live stream tour for her followers. She walks through the grand entrance and twirls around in the foyer. This is what hard work and a real career get you, she announces to thousands of people watching online. I stand outside the gate in my car, hidden behind the dark tinted glass. I am watching her silently through the bars of the fence. One of the security guards walks over to my window and nods respectfully. He knows who I am. He knows that this is still my property and that I am the one who pays his salary. Madison is inside, thanking the universe for her good luck and her amazing life. I just watch her from the shadows. She is thanking the universe, but I am the one who actually built the universe she is thanking. She is so busy being the star of her own show that she never stops to look at who is actually running the theater. I put my car in gear and drove away quietly. Back at the office, my legal team brings me a stack of papers. They have flagged a specific clause in the lease that Madison never bothered to read. Most people just sign the papers when they are excited about a house, and Madison is exactly that kind of person. The clause ties all ownership rights and residency status to management approval. This means that I can revoke her lease, renew it, or even restructure her entire stay at any time for any reason I see fit. My lawyer looks a bit nervous as he points to the line. "She is your sister, Amelia," he says softly. "Are you sure you want to keep this in there?" I stare at the document for a long time. I think about her laughing at me at the open house. I think about my parents telling me to be more like her. "I know she is my sister," I replied. I do not change a single word on that document. I just hand it back to him and tell him to file it. I am not going to do anything yet. I am just going to wait and see. A couple of weeks later, Madison hosts a lavish dinner party in the house. She invites all of her wealthy friends and even our parents. She invites me, too, probably just so she can show off. She introduces me to her guests with a fake, sweet smirk on her face. "This is my sister, Lila," she says loudly so everyone can hear. She is still figuring things out. She works in a little office somewhere. One of the guests, a woman in a very expensive dress, whispers to Madison, "Does she live here too? The house is so big." Madison laughs like the idea is the funniest thing she has ever heard. "Oh, no," Madison says. Lila could not even afford the guest room in a place like this. She is just visiting. I just sip my drink and listen to them laugh. I look around at the walls I chose and the lights I installed. I feel the power of the secret I am keeping. I do not say anything to defend myself. I just wait for the right moment. The clock is ticking, and Madison has no idea. As the night goes on, Madison's boyfriend, Andrew, starts asking a lot of questions. He is a smart guy who works in finance, and he is very observant. He starts walking around the house, looking at the high-tech features. He notices a small metal plaque near the property management system by the kitchen. It has the company logo and a name on it. Andrew squinted his eyes to read the fine print. "Lila," he says, turning toward me. "Is your last name Harrington?" I thought it was just Smith. I feel my body freeze for a second. I didn't think anyone would look that closely at the management plaque. Madison interrupts before I can even think of a response. She rolls her eyes and waves her hand at Andrew. "No, silly. She is just my sister. Why would she have a different last name?" she says. Madison is so convinced that I am a nobody that she cannot even imagine a world where I have a different professional name. Andrew isn't convinced, though. He keeps looking at me and then back at the plaque. He knows something is not right, but he can't put his finger on it. The truth finally starts to leak out because of a simple computer error. A massive system update at the property management office accidentally exposes the internal ownership records to all the tenants through the mobile app. Madison is sitting on her expensive sofa when she gets the notification. She opens the app to check her billing, but instead, she sees the full ownership profile for the house. The screen glows in her hand. Amelia Harrington, principal owner. She sees my professional photo right next to the name. Her face drains of all its color. She looks like she has seen a ghost. She refreshes the screen once, then twice, hoping it is just a glitch or a mistake. It does not change. The name stays there in bold letters. She whispers to herself, that is not possible. She looks around the room, and suddenly the house feels different to her. The marble floors and the high ceilings do not feel like hers anymore. She realizes that the little office I work in might be the very place that owns her life. She is terrified, confused, and very, very angry. Madison does not wait. She confronts me immediately by showing up at my apartment. "You hacked something," she snaps at me the moment I open the door. Her face is red, and she is holding her phone out like a weapon. "I saw the app, Lila. You put your face on the owner's profile. That is not real. You are trying to embarrass me." I stay perfectly calm and lean against the doorframe. I have been preparing for this moment for a long time. "It is real, Madison," I say softly. She laughs nervously, her voice shaking. "No, it isn't. You can't afford this house. You can't even afford a nice car. You are just a liar." I look her right in the eyes. I don't feel the need to yell. "I never said I could afford to buy that house, Madison," I replied. "I said I own the company that owns that house. And 50 others just like it." She stares at me, her mouth hanging open. She wants to say something mean, but the words won't come out. For the first time in her life, she is looking at me and seeing someone she does not recognize at all. Madison completely breaks down after that. She refuses to accept the reality of the situation. She calls our mother and tells her that I am playing a sick prank. She calls our father and tells him I am being cruel. She even calls her friends to try and get them to take her side. But as the hours pass, no one believes her version of the story anymore. They start looking up Harrington properties online. They see my interviews in business magazines. They see my face on the About Us page of the corporate website. Everyone is starting to realize that I am the one telling the truth, and Madison is the one who has been living in a fantasy. She believes my version even less because she hates the idea of being wrong. "You are just lying to make me look stupid," she screams at me over the phone through her tears. I don't even bother to respond to her. I just hang up. I know exactly what is coming next, and it is going to be the biggest wake-up call of her entire life. The property board for the luxury community meets for an urgent session. Usually, I don't attend these meetings in person, but today is different. Madison's lease is actually under review because of several behavioral violations. She has been throwing loud parties and bothering the neighbors, thinking she was untouchable. She has no idea that I am going to be in that meeting. She thinks she is just going to talk to a group of old men in suits. When the Zoom call starts, she sees the grid of faces. Then, I turn my camera on. Her face appears in the live feed right next to mine. She goes completely silent. Her eyes go wide as she sees me sitting in the main chairman's seat. "Good afternoon, Madison," I say professionally. The other board members look at me for direction. Madison looks like she wants to melt into the floor. She realizes that the person she insulted at the open house is the same person who holds her future in her hands. The power shift is so sudden and so total that she cannot even speak. She just stares at the screen. After the board meeting, everything changes for Madison. She stops posting her life online. Her confidence, which used to be so loud and annoying, shifts into a deep sense of paranoia. She starts watching me more closely whenever I am around. She realizes that I have never been just struggling. I have always been successful, I just chose to be quiet about it. She realizes that I didn't need her approval or her lifestyle because I had already built my own that was much bigger than hers. She starts to feel like a guest in her own life. She looks at the furniture she bought and the clothes she wears, and she wonders if any of it is real. She realizes she never once asked me what I actually did for a living. She never asked how I was doing. She just assumed I was beneath her because it made her feel better about herself. Now, she has to live with the fact that she was the one who was blind. She is finally seeing me, but she doesn't like what she sees because it reminds her of her own arrogance. I sit in my office and think about when we were kids. Madison always had to be the center of attention. She took every spotlight, every praise, and every opportunity to shine. I was the one who always built things in silence. I liked to play with blocks and design little cities while she was busy performing for our parents. She was always praised for her big personality, while I was often ignored because I was too quiet and focused on boring things. My parents thought her personality meant she would be the successful one. They thought my precision and my silence meant I was just average. Nothing has really changed since we were children, except for one thing, the power. Now, the silence that they ignored has turned into a massive company. The precision they thought was boring has turned into a billion-dollar portfolio. Madison is still trying to live off her personality, but personality doesn't pay the property taxes in Beverly Hills. I realize that I have been winning this game for a long time, I just never bothered to tell them the score. I decided it's time to give Madison an ultimatum. I call her into my office. She walks in looking small and defeated. She doesn't have her designer bags or her loud voice today. I offer her an option to stay in the house, but there are new terms. She has to follow the respect rules of the community. There will be no more public defamation of me or anyone else. There will be no more harassment of the staff. She stares at me like I have betrayed her heart. You are controlling my life now? She asks with a shaking voice. I look at her and shake my head slowly. I am not controlling your life, Madison, I reply. I am just managing my property. You are the one who chose to live here. She looks at me with so much anger, but she doesn't leave. You always had this power, she says. I nod. I always did. You just didn't know because you never cared enough to look. She realizes that she is completely at my mercy, and it is a feeling she absolutely hates. A few days later, a rumor starts to leak to the public. The local news runs a story titled, "Mystery Young Woman Owns Elite Beverly Hills Properties." The article doesn't use my name yet, but it describes my company and my background. Madison sees the articles and starts reading the comments. People are speculating about who this Amelia Harrington really is. She starts realizing that I am not invisible anymore. I am just a person who is unknown on purpose. I didn't want fame, I wanted freedom. Madison, on the other hand, always wanted fame but never had the freedom because she was always chasing someone else's lifestyle. She sees that my life is actually much more exciting and influential than hers will ever be. She begins to see that her lifestyle was just a tiny part of my business plan. She feels embarrassed that she ever tried to look down on me. The articles talk about my hard work and my intelligence. Madison realizes that she can't just tweet her way out of this one. The truth is becoming a public record, and she is just a footnote in it. I hosted an investor dinner to reveal my full portfolio to some new partners. It is a high-profile event at a rooftop restaurant. Madison somehow finds out and shows up, hovering near the entrance. She overhears the presentations. She hears the numbers being discussed, billions of dollars in real estate assets and thousands of units across the country. I am standing at the front of the room, giving a speech about the future of urban design. I see her standing in the back. Her glass of champagne slips from her hand and shatters on the floor. It is a loud sound that makes a few people turn around. The glass is broken, and so is her entire perception of me. She looks at me on that stage and finally sees the Amelia Harrington everyone else sees. She sees a leader, a founder, and a powerhouse. She realizes that while she was busy mocking my studio apartment, I was busy buying the whole block. She turns around and runs out of the restaurant before I can even finish my speech. She can't handle the scale of the truth anymore. Madison's life begins to collapse under the weight of her own lies. She tries to reframe the story to her friends, claiming that she was the one who helped me grow my confidence and that she pushed me to be successful. She tries to act like she was my mentor all along. But no one buys it. Not even our parents believe her stories anymore. They have seen the documents. They have seen the news. For the first time in her life, Madison is the one being doubted. People are starting to ask her where her money actually comes from. They are asking her why she lied about the house. Her social media following starts to drop. The brands she worked with start to distance themselves because they don't want to be associated with her drama. She is losing her status, her influence, and her pride all at once. She realizes that the spotlight she loved so much is now showing everyone her flaws. She is finally feeling the humiliation she tried to force onto me. It is a long way down from the pedestal she built for herself. Madison starts avoiding the house entirely. She can't stand to be inside it anymore. Every time she looks at the beautiful kitchen or the infinity pool, she is reminded of her own failure to see the truth. She starts staying at cheap hotels or with friends who haven't heard the news yet. She can't sleep in a place that she once mocked me for not being able to afford. The irony of the situation eats her alive every single day. She realized that she was a guest in a house owned by the person she called a nobody. She feels like a fraud every time she walks through the front gate. She is living in luxury, but she feels like she is in a prison. She is surrounded by the things she always wanted, but she can't enjoy them because she didn't earn them, and she knows I did. She starts to realize that money isn't what makes a person big, it is the truth of who they are. She is finally learning the lesson I learned years ago, but it is a very painful way to learn it. I wait for an apology from her. I really do. I keep my phone nearby, hoping for a text or a call where she says she is sorry for how she treated me. But the apology doesn't come. Or a call where she says she is sorry for how she treated me. But the apology doesn't come. Instead, she sends me a long, angry message in the middle of the night. You ruined my life, the message says. You set me up to fail. You wanted to make me look like a fool in front of everyone. I stare at the message on my screen for a long time. I feel a deep sadness for her. I realize that she still doesn't understand what actually happened. I didn't ruin her life, she ruined it by being arrogant and unkind. I didn't set her up to fail, I gave her the exact house she wanted. The only thing I did was exist as my true self, and that was enough to expose her. She is still blaming me for the consequences of her own actions. I realize that some people would rather stay angry than admit they were wrong. I put my phone away and decide that I can't wait for her to change anymore. I decide it is time for a final change. I transfer Madison's lease to a charitable foundation that I run. The foundation provides housing for people who are working on community initiatives. Madison can stay in the house if she wants to, but now she is officially a tenant under a public housing initiative. Her status in the community changes instantly. She is no longer the wealthy socialite living in a mansion, she is a resident in a supported housing program. There is no more special privilege for her. No more skipping the line or getting special treatment from the staff. She has to follow the same rules as everyone else. This is her new reality. She is still in the beautiful house, but the meaning of her stay has changed completely. She is finally on the same level as the people she used to look down on. She is shocked by the change, but she has nowhere else to go. She has to accept the new terms of her life. The world she built for herself is officially gone. Madison finally confronts me one last time at my office. She didn't come in screaming today. She doesn't have any arrogance left in her eyes. She just looks exhausted and sad. She sits down in the chair across from my desk and looks at me for a long time. Why didn't you tell me, Lila? She whispers. Her voice is small and tired. Why did you let me act like that? Why did you let me move in without telling me you owned it? I look at her and answer honestly. Because you never asked who I really was, Madison, I reply softly. You were too busy telling me who I wasn't. You were so sure that I was a failure that you never stopped to see my success. She looks down at her lap and starts to cry. They are not the loud, dramatic tears she usually cries. They are quiet tears of true regret. She realizes that she lost her sister because she was too obsessed with her own image. She finally sees that the person she was competing with wasn't me, it was a version of me she made up in her head. After that meeting, a small shift begins to happen. Madison starts volunteering for my foundation. She doesn't make any big announcements about it on social media. She doesn't post any selfies with the people she is helping. She just shows up and does the work. She helps organize the housing files and talks to the new residents. There is no ego in her actions anymore. She just works quietly in the background. I don't say anything to her about it. I don't praise her or tell her she is doing a good job. I just watch her from my office window when she arrives. I notice the change in her posture and the way she talks to people now. She is finally learning how to build something instead of just looking at the finished product. She is learning how to be a part of something bigger than herself. It is a slow process, but I can see her trying. For the first time in our lives, she is choosing to be quiet like me. It is a strange but beautiful sight to see. A few months later, we have a family dinner. It is the first one where things feel truly different. Madison is there, and she is wearing a simple outfit. She isn't trying to be the center of attention. When the conversation turns to work, she actually speaks up to the whole family. Lila built everything I thought I achieved, she says clearly. The table goes completely silent. My parents look shocked. Madison continues, I spent so much time looking down on her, but I was the one who was small. And I was wrong about her. She looks at me and gives me a small, sincere nod. For the first time in our entire lives, she doesn't look at me like I am her competition. She doesn't look at me like I am a joke. She looks at me with real respect. My parents look between us, and they finally seem to understand the truth of what has happened. The favorite-daughter dynamic is gone. We are just two sisters sitting at a table together. The air feels lighter than it ever has before. Months later, I visited the Beverly Hills house again. Madison is still living there, but it looks different now. She is hosting a charity event inside it, and it was her own idea. She has invited people from the community to talk about housing rights. She sees me walk in, and she doesn't flinch or look embarrassed. She just walks over and smiles softly at me. This house doesn't feel like yours anymore, she says to me. I raise a brow, wondering what she means by that. She gives me a little grin and finishes her thought, it feels like ours. I look around the room at the people she is helping and the life she is building now. I think about the journey we have both been through. I think about the silence, the power, and the truth. For the first time in my life, I actually agree with her. It is no longer just my property, it is a place where we both finally found our way back to each other. I smile back at her and take a sip of my drink. The lifestyle doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that we are finally family again.